You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You ready?
Showtime.
On May 3rd, summer starts with The Fall Guy.
Let's do it later.
Let's drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes!
Audiences are falling in love with the most entertaining film of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy?
Fall guy.
That's what the poster said.
See Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie critics say exists to make you happy.
Trying to make it out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy. Only in theaters May 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Get ready for the greatest roast of all time, the Roast of Tom Brady, a Netflix live event happening May 5th. Hosted by Kevin Hart, the 7-time world champion gets his cleats held to the fire by famous friends and frenemies on an unforgettable night where everything is fair game. Tune in on May 5th at 5 p.m. Pacific time for the Roast of Tom Brady, live only on Netflix.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. Today we're going to have some fun. One of the things I like to do, go in the Wayback Machine. I know I don't need to keep hammering this point. I've made my point. I think I've made it very clear. The idea that we don't actually know what's going to happen. And look, this really, it's not really intended to be like the Packers did better than you think. And if you don't like the Packers draft, you're an idiot. There might be some of that, but it also goes in the other direction in terms of being overly positive. A lot of the things that I have, for example, are times when the Packers are called brilliant and it was stupid. And I bring it up in part, not necessarily because of the Packers. It's a little bit because some of it seems like a reach. Like our first round pick was a little bit of a reach. And obviously Tyrone Hopper was a reach. But then also, you know, the Lions got a steal. A lot of teams got a steal. Everyone's a steal. And again, it just comes back to the consensus big board. If the consensus big board says 13 and you got them at 25, you're a genius. You're a wizard. You got a steal. So I just want to go back. We're going to reminisce a little bit. We're going to have some fun. We're going to make a little fun, but it's all in good fun. Let's see how many ways I can say fun. Because obviously all of us did this, and I've made it very clear some of the stuff that I thought, I was anti-Rashawn Gary. I wasn't anti-Jair, but I thought it was a little early. Loved Josh Jackson, right? Loved Oren Burks like everybody else. I mean, at least I came around to it. Everybody sold me on him, and I was like, heck yeah, let's do this. Bottom line is my opinion has been wrong almost every single time. If I liked the prospect, they were probably bad. If I loved the prospect, they were or you get it. Jeez, you get it. So why don't we do that? First of all, it should be noted that this is via Mike Garafolo. The Packers are declining the fifth-year option on cornerback Erik Stokes, sources say. The 29th pick in the 2021, Stokes played well as a rookie, but has battled injuries the past 2 seasons. He's slated for free agency next spring and can make a case for a big payday if he stays healthy. And look, I think that that's phrased exactly right. I mean, if he had just said they declined the fifth-year option, what he said after that is exactly the context that I would have provided. In other words, I don't necessarily view this as, see, he's a bust, he's gone. I think the bottom line is he hasn't done enough to earn that fifth-year option. I think that the Packers and Stokes probably realize that he's put himself, that's an unfair way to say it. It's been injury primarily. He has unfortunately been put in a position because of the injuries and everything else, in which he has to perform this year, or else he's not going to make it. And the Packers don't want to be in a position where they get the fifth-year option and he either gets hurt or he does not play very well. So, I mean, look, the fifth-year option, bottom line is you really only want to exercise that when you know you got a stud and you don't want to give him the big payday yet. Like, you can kind of delay it. You give him like a mediocre, like halfway big payday for a year, and then you got to give him the big payday. The Packers have no reason to do that. They have no reason to try to, I mean, he as of right now, he might not even be worth the cost of the fifth-year option. But again, that isn't disqualifying him. It's basically just saying, like, we we hope that we made a mistake. We hope that you ball out, and now we're stuck giving you the big contract instead of the fifth-year option. That would be the best-case scenario. But this is your last opportunity. And look, I think we all knew this. We all understood that this was the situation. Again, I think the Packers knew it, the fans knew it, Stokes knew it, and I don't know what to say other than we're all really rooting for him. Whether we're bigger believers or not, I think we're all unified in the idea that this team is drastically better if it turns out Stokes is actually a real dog and we just haven't been able to see it yet. Also, because I don't know if this is going to be able to be put in organically somewhere. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a time in the near future where I fully intend on making fun of the Bears. I mean, it's kind of my whole shtick. But we might as well just play it now. I've mentioned this before. I think one of my favorite reporters, and there's not a ton that I really appreciate. You know, I mean, most of them are just kind of neutral. I don't know. A lot of the national people I can't stand. A lot of the Packers people seem fine, with the exception of one or two. I think they do a decent enough job, although they got to brush up on their question asking skills. But I feel as though Carmen Vitaly, who I believe started as a Chicago Bears beat writer, now she is the NFC. She covers the NFC North for Fox Sports. The reason I always appreciated her is she was the only level-headed Bears fan that when I'd go through and I'd dig through all the Bears stuff, everybody was out of their mind. Now, we did have the people over at The Tape Never Lies, huge Chicago Bears show. They were very critical, and we had a good time with them. But, I mean, just in terms of, like, common sense, let's just think this through a little bit. I've never heard her say anything that I even slightly disagree with. So I'm a huge fan. I think she's about as good as anybody that I've heard covering the space. I mean, she does a great job even covering, you know, she would talk sense to Bears fans about the Packers. Like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of think Jordan Love's pretty good, but whatever. So here is Kay Adams, who I know is very popular. I don't know enough about Kay Adams to have an opinion one way or another, but she is interviewing Carmen Vitaly. I don't know the full context of this. It sounds as though she's trying to get like this hype about the Bears, like she's playing into the hype. And here is what Carmen Vitaly had to say.
Here, though, what are realistic expectations?
This is the thing, though. Like, if this works, this team will be remembered forever, okay? You know how everybody talks about the 85 Bears still in Chicago. But my thing is, where do we get off having these expectations of a rookie quarterback in Chicago? The bar is on the floor at this point. Caleb wouldn't even have to throw for one touchdown a game. He would only have to average 130 passing yards a game to break the rookie quarterback records in Chicago. Can we start there? Like, also, talking about going and winning the division, a very tough division, by the way, could be the toughest in the league this year. A rookie quarterback has only ever won his division in the history of the league 8 times. It's only happened 3 times in the last 18 years. Again, where do we get off expecting that from a team that has so much new in it? Can we stop putting the cart in front of the horse? Just let them get to a winning season first. Let them lay the foundation. Otherwise, if you don't do this the right way, you're going to waste all that work that Ryan Poles just put in.
Hold on, Hamilton.
All right, that's the end of it. 100%. And listen, I'll even back up a little bit, and I'll be like, look, I think in the history of, because every time they do this, you know, the Bears fans are always like, oh, you're scared. Yes, I am. Of course I'm scared. I was scared of Trubisky, and I was scared of Fields, terrified. Every year I thought maybe Trubisky would turn it around. Every year I thought maybe Fields could turn it around, although I was becoming less and less convinced of that because Bears fans wouldn't shut their mouth about Fields, so I had to continually dig in, and the more I dug in, the more it was convincing that the guy was not very good. So now they went out and got a guy that is unbelievably hyped, and he's unbelievably gifted. I mean, he has a lot of flaws. I think Bears fans overestimate, like, oh, this is the generational guy, and it's like, I don't know. First of all, again, I think Trevor Lawrence was a significantly more promising prospect. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, I remember, I'm not a college guy. I remember hearing Trevor Lawrence when he came out of high school. right? I don't remember that with Caleb Williams at all. I don't remember Caleb Williams until last offseason when I think I started seeing highlight reels of the guy, and I was like, holy crap, that's my dude right there. So it sucks that he went to Chicago, but still, like I'd never heard of Caleb Williams prior to that. And I think that is a pretty good barometer, because if you want to know how popular somebody is, ask somebody that doesn't watch college football if they know who they are. If they do, probably a pretty big prospect, right? Like Todd Gurley. I remember hearing when he comes out of high school, this guy's going to be X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Jadeveon Clowney. Those names stick out, even to a non-college person. Like, dude, of course I know Clowney. Of course I know Gurley. Of course I know Trevor Lawrence. It's kind of like, what's his name now? Although I think it's starting to fall apart. Quinn Ewers, right? I knew the name immediately, right? The Manning, partially because he's a Manning, but still, like, these guys I know. I never heard of Caleb. So I think that does mean something. If you try to say that this is some kind of a generational prospect, well, most of the guys that you point to, like the Mannings and whatnot, everybody knew about the Mannings the second they stepped onto a college football field and proclaimed them essentially a number one overall pick at some point before they even started playing college. Like, someday this guy's going to be a number one overall pick. Again, maybe I just missed it. Maybe college people are like, bro, no. I mean, he was a junior. People were saying that. I don't know. But I'm just saying it never reached my ears. But I listen, they have maybe the best wide receiver group in the NFC North right now. Now, if you look long term, it falls apart pretty quick, but still, I'll grant you that. I think their offensive line's probably better than a lot of people would give them credit for, because I think it was always taken way too much of the blame for Justin Fields' problems. Unfortunately, Caleb Williams has the same issues, so I don't know that improves, but the defense is coming along. They have a defensive head coach, and I think they started to see some strides. And when you see a team like that make some strides without a ton of talent, although, you got the number one corner, and there's a couple things working out. You got an edge rusher now that they brought in halfway through the season. But again, lots of holes, and you're still able to do it. The point is I can see it. I can see the pathway. But she's right. Like, let's start by getting out of the frickin' basement. How about we stop picking top 10? How about we have a winning record? How about we beat the Packers one time this year? Stop talking about sweeping and winning the division and Super Bowls. Let's talk about beating the Packers one time. Let's see if we can, like, compete for second in the division. Maybe sneak into the playoffs or something. Just make an appearance this year. And I would have no issue with that. But this whole, like, puff your chest out, we now own the North thing. Listen, I'm sorry, but as many times as you guys have proclaimed that and just completely flamed out, as many terrible decisions as you made, you above any other team need to understand our skepticism. You above any other fan base need to understand the concept of you're going to have to earn it first, okay? And anybody in the media playing along with this, shame on you. Seriously. We've been through this so many times. And look, it's like, well, Caleb's a better prospect than Fields. Okay, that may be true. I don't know that he was a better college quarterback, but you could say he's a better prospect, okay. But you said the same thing about Fields in comparison to Trubisky. I remember because I wanted to go back and prove that it wasn't true, and it was. Bears fans hated the Trubisky pick. They didn't like it. He didn't do well in camp. Caleb, everybody loved it. Everybody lauded it. He was taken later than he was supposed to. He was like the third best prospect that year, according to the consensus board, I think. Dominated college, elite athleticism, great arm. He's got a cannon. He can run unbelievably fast. Everything was there. And then he comes into camp and he tears up camp. He was doing so good. Again, I remember because I tried to go back and be like, see, Trubisky did it too. But he didn't. He was terrible in camp. Nobody liked the pick. So I didn't have that argument. They had it. They were right. We didn't like that one. It was a bad pick. We thought it was a reach. He was terrible in camp. Like, it was not a good pick. Justin Fields is different. And you were right. He was different. He was better. He was a better prospect, a better athlete. He had a stronger arm. All the stuff that you want to say, it was all there. But guess what? Trubisky was better than Fields as a quarterback. So I don't care. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'll believe it when I see it. And I may see it. I hope I don't, but I might. Because look, at the end of the day, one of these times, it's kind of like with the Packers, like at some point they got to get in a slump. Like it doesn't look like it's going to happen in Jordan Love's tenure because we got another quarterback, which is crazy. So let's just tack on 10 years. Maybe after that, it's a dark era. Every team's got to go through that at some point. It has to happen. Just like that, somebody's got to break that freaking quarterback record. And the problem with having such a low bar is that's a big boost. I mean, you can come in, do almost nothing, and you are like the all-time, as a rookie, you come in, you're the all-time leading this, that, or the other. You are the hero of Chicago. You barely did anything. I mean, Jordan Love broke all those records, and half the people out there are like, well, I don't know, we'll see about this Jordan Love guy. But if Caleb Williams does it, he's the current record holder for pretty much every record for any quarterback in Chicago. And he did it as a rookie. Not that he had a good season, that's a different thing, but he did all this as a rookie. And that might be a little bit of a boost. See, we're coming. We're coming for you. Caleb, he's so good. He broke the records of all the backup quarterbacks we've had for 100 freaking years. I'm sorry, did I go on a little tirade there? That was not planned. That was not intended. See, I can't do it, man. I can't just let Carmen do the talking and say, well said, let's move on. I gotta just, you freaking... By the way, I decided, just for fun, I was like, you know what? I'm always going at Bears fans. Maybe I just start swinging for the fences and see what happens. And I decided to just get violent on social media. So I just posted something that I knew would tick everybody off. Something to the effect, I'm not going to go find it, something to the effect of the Lions or the Packers are better than the Lions. They were last year, they will be again this year, I think is what it said. And sure enough, Lions fans do exist. I've never seen them before. And man, they came out in droves. So it was good. I'm guessing none of you are listening, but if you are, it was good to meet you guys. I keep hearing about you. And it's kind of like the Jets, I've never interacted with a Jets fan in my life. I know like two guys that I follow and occasionally interact with. One of the guys also does a daily podcast, so he and I kind of have that bond. I don't know anybody else that does a daily podcast in terms of like one person. I guess Clayton. Clayton now adds, welcome to the club, Clayton, of doing 7-day-a-week podcasts. I don't think anybody else that I know of does that. But I started talking, once the whole Rodgers thing went down and I started making some observations, man, people got pissed talking about the offensive line and, they didn't, so they came out of the woodwork. So I guess all I'm saying is I'm proud of myself for deliberately going out and violently interacting with Lions fans. And I honestly did it because it's like, I can't just be the guy that hates Bears fans. Like, there's two other rivalries here. I was going to say something about the Vikings, but like I said, I just feel like that team has such low self-esteem right now. I could be way off. I don't know. I know there's, what's his name? Peter. Won't say his full name, but Peter always, every time I talk about the Vikings, he always reaches out and has some comments about it, and we interact and whatnot. He usually has some pretty good observations. A lot of times he catches stuff that I miss, but like he's like my Vikings fan guy. I don't know, I don't even know. That's the thing. I don't know what to say to Vikings fans because like if I make fun of their quarterback situation, I feel like it'd be like, I know, right? Like make fun of Sam Darnold and it's like, yeah, he sucks, but we got this other guy. Hopefully he starts up soon. Like, oh yeah, that's fair. Like, I don't want to say something that I don't actually believe or think is a fair... Like, I genuinely believe the Packers are better than the Lions. That could be wrong. I mean, I think it's pretty close. And certainly the Lions wouldn't have to do much by way of progression to be that top team. But it's a statement I believe, so I said it just for fun. I don't know what to say to the Vikings. Like, you're not good enough yet to compete. Like, yeah, I get it. I don't know what I would say that Vikings fans wouldn't agree with, I guess is my point. But as soon as I figure, Peter, let me know. What is the thing that I've said that generally Vikings fans don't agree with? I don't know what you guys think over there. I don't know. Maybe I just need to like put out some feelers and see, it's more like musky fishing with them. Bears fans, it's like pan fishing. You drop anything in the water, they just come snipping. I can throw just a bare hook in the water. Those things will come popping up. I've caught bluegill with bare hooks before. Those things are stupid. Vikings fans, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get them. You know what I mean? Like I can't go at Justin Jefferson because I respect the man. I'm just thinking out loud here. This is not what we're supposed to be doing. I'm genuinely. Let me know. Call in. What are some things I could do, Peter? Like I said, let me know because you listen to what I have to say about the Vikings. What would Vikings fans vehemently disagree with? We got to figure something out. We can't have this. I need to know how to push the buttons of all the fan bases. And like I said, Bears fans, you'd say freaking anything. Lions fans, it's simple. They think they're the best team in the North. So there you go. That's your in. I need a button for the Vikings. Maybe it's the GM. I hate to do it, but do Vikings fans even like Kwesi anymore? I know they did. Bears fans, I think, made fun of him because Wasn't it the Vikings wanted Poles and settled for Kwesi because the Bears got Poles? So it's kind of like a, got him. Maybe that's backwards. I don't know. Anyways, tell you what, let's take a break. We're going to dive into 2018. Supposed to start that in the last segment, but, things happen sometimes. We'll start with 2017, do a little recap, see what people had to say, and hopefully gain a little perspective. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built for us. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply.
With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's peachy.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
510, declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
All right, so just to recap, 2018, which was Gutekunst's first year, Jair Alexander, great pick. In the first round, pick 18. He actually traded back, got a first-round pick out of it, and then traded up to get Jair. That's that whole trading back and getting a next year's first because people pretend it's like a second-round value, which, stupid. Then in the second round, we got Josh Jackson, who supposedly fell. I genuinely thought they were drafting Josh Jackson when they got Jair. We got him at pick 45. That was, quote-unquote, a steal. Third round, we got Oren Burks, and then we got Jamon Moore in the fourth, Cole Madison in the fifth, and J.K. Scott, MVS, Equinemius St. Brown, James Looney, Hunter Bradley, Kendall Donnerson. Now, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Classic Brian Gutekunst draft, right? 11 freaking picks. Was it a good class? I would lean toward no. I don't think his first draft was the greatest. I think Jair was a great call. It was a huge need. And again, we know how Gutekunst likes to just scattershot needs, right? We need corner. We're going to go runner, runner, corner. We need wide receiver. We're going to draft 3 of them in this class. But at the end of the day, second round pick was bad. Third round pick was a reach and terrible. Our first wide receiver taken in the fourth round was terrible. Cole Madison didn't pan out. We drafted a punter in the fifth round, which is a very risky thing to do. I have no issue with it if it works, but if you waste a fifth round pick on a punter that goes bye-bye very soon, that's a sucky pick. MVS in the fifth was a good pick. He was. He wasn't the greatest wide receiver in the world, but for a fifth-round wide receiver, he produced. And the fact that he went on to get a $10 million a year contract from the Chiefs, whether or not that was smart, it ends up being a pretty good value. Equanimeous St. Brown for the sixth round, I mean, we got about sixth-round value for him. James Looney, Hunter Bradley, and Kendall Donnerson amounted to basically nothing. It wasn't a super great group. We got some value, not as much as you'd hope, with 11 picks. So I want to start with this. I'm going to pick on Sports Illustrated for a minute. There's like 3 whole paragraphs going into Mike Pettin and Mike McCarthy, and I'm not sure any of it is coherent, but I'll just fast forward to the end. It says, for this approach to work, you need corners who can win on an island. In Green Bay, Pettin inherited only one decent corner, last year's second-round Kevin King, which is hilarious, but at the same time, relatively true. It was such a bad situation where you look at Kevin King and go, that's our only decent corner. Whereas today we look at Kevin King and go, decent? Who's decent? She's talking about decent, bro. It says, so the team drafted twitchy Jair Alexander in the first round and lanky Josh Jackson in the second. The Packers now have youthful talent on all 3 starting corner spots. This is part of the problem. You know, I keep seeing the Lions and a bunch of other people doing this where they just take their draft picks, plug it in and go, now we got it. You know, they did the same thing. They went corner. And they're saying, now we got corners. Now what are you going to do? Well, you drafted corners, right? Kind of like you drafted Jeff Okudah in the top 5, I believe, who went on to be, you know, nothing. But I don't exactly know that we can just call them successes. Rookies have to prove that they're good in the NFL first. So basically, you are what you were last year, minus the people you lost. And then you kind of look at it and say, you know, some of your older players maybe start to regress. Some of your younger players maybe start to grow. I mean, it's case by case. But the rookies don't necessarily mean anything. At best, you can say, you know, we took multiple swings and early swings, so we're hopeful that it at least improves marginally. But for sentences like this that say the Packers now have youthful talent at all 3 corner spots, no. We had Kevin King, who was not good. And we had Josh Jackson, who was even worse and couldn't get on the field. And then we had Jair, who was, you know, in his first year, not elite, but he was decent. That was our corner situation, and it sucked. Here's what PFF had to say. They gave the Packers an overall grade of elite. Said the Packers had an elite draft. I think in hindsight, probably disagree. Green Bay is one team with a real case for quote-unquote winning the 2018 NFL draft. They talked about the trade, which was one of the greatest trades I've seen the Packers make. I mean, it was remarkable. This double trade back last year in which we got Jaden Reed and some other studs might rival it, but that's pretty fantastic to trade back, get a first, and then trade up and get the guy you wanted anyways. They go on to say Alexander is a game changer at corner. I think that was a good assessment. Then they talk about day 2. It says, the Packers erased any concerns we had of getting the right player at corner by snagging the number 1 guy on PFF's cornerback rankings to pair with the number 4 in Iowa's Josh Jackson. Now, again, let's talk about some of the problems here. The Packers snagged the number 1 corner in the second round. So now I know that they're set at corner. Or maybe he fell for a reason, and maybe we should rely less on your rankings and more on the fact that he fell into the second round. But again, that wasn't the thought process. It was the number 1 corner, arguably in the entire draft, the Packers snagged in the second round. Remarkable pick. And it says, a relative pedestrian 40 time likely caused him to slip down the draft boards. In other words, he's an elite player. We know he's elite. But these stupid GMs, they saw a slow 40 and they let him fall. It was dumb. They're idiots. Packers got a steal here. Nope. They said Oren Burks has done everything. He's very versatile. He could, his athleticism and versatility could make him more valuable even at the next level. And then on day 3, it says Green Bay snagged a Jordy Nelson replacement in Notre Dame's Equanimeous St. Brown. Wow. And then they said Cole Madison, he was a right tackle. Some project him inside, but he should help Green Bay's line regardless of which spot he plays. No, that's not what happened. You got USA Today, again, hyping up Equanimeous. And now that I'm going back, I remember that. He was supposed to go a lot earlier. It says, supersized wide receiver Equanimeous St. Brown, 6'5", 214, is an intriguing project who went later than expected in round 6. That's basically it. Like that I mean, it's like they got a first. They shouldn't have drafted a punter and a long snapper, which in hindsight was true. And then Equanimeous fell. So GM Brian Gutekunst's got a B+ for that. Nobody wants to talk about the wide receiver that went before Equanimeous because of our preconceived notion that Equanimeous should have gone in like, what, the third round maybe he was projected? Something like that. I don't think it would have been second, but let's say third. He fell to the sixth. So that's the steal. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who gives a crap? We don't know the guy. He was like a seventh round. Like, it's just they just picked him because he's tall and fast. Like, it's stupid. Equanimeous, though, that's intriguing. It's intriguing because that's what your big boards told you is intriguing. But you're ignoring the receiver that went before him, which was a mistake because that guy ended up being better. Who'd have thunk it? CBS, same thing. Gave the 45th pick, Josh Jackson, grade A. They added a guy who had first-round talent to go with Jair. Jackson has great ball skills. Wait, why are you calling him a first-round talent if you win at pick 45? Wouldn't he be a second-round talent if you went in the second round? Well, no, because his talent isn't dictated by what the NFL thinks and the GMs think. It's dictated based on what these mock drafts have been telling me by writers and podcasters and everything else. You see what I'm saying? You see how it's backwards? We have to get out of that mindset. We have to stop thinking this way. That's why I want to go back and just, whether it's positive or negative toward the Packers, it's like, we got to get out of this mindset. You know, if you continue on here, let's see. Dallas Goedert was a B plus. Bro, he's like one of the best tight ends in football. Connor Williams, elite offensive lineman. They gave the Dallas Cowboys a C. I don't think he's as good as some others do. Anthony Miller, wide receiver out of Memphis, who the Chicago Bears picked at 51. A plus. Who in the heck is Anthony Miller? I don't know who that is. I don't remember him. And I have an obsession with the Bears. You can ask Bears fans. Rent-free. Completely rent-free. I don't know who that is. They gave him an A plus. Carlton Davis, the corner that was taken later by Tampa, got a B. So our guy got an A. Carlton Davis got a B. How'd that pan out? I mean, just go through the first round. Bradley Chubb got an A plus. Nope. Quentin Nelson got a B. Probably a little low. Josh Allen actually got an A plus. That surprises me. Josh Rosen, A. Minka Fitzpatrick, B plus. Tremaine Edmonds, B plus. Dude's not good. Leighton Vander Esch, A. Nope. Frank Ragnow, B plus. Should probably be a little high. Just give him an A. All right, how about the 2019 class? Rashawn Gary, great pick. Darnell Savage, not so great. Elton Jenkins, great pick. Jay Sternberger, awful. Kingsley Keke, I mean, he's a fifth-round pick, but still not great. Sixth-round pick, Kadar Holman, bad pick. Sixth-round pick, Dexter Williams. I will stand on that freaking hill forever. It was a good pick. And then Ty Summers in the seventh round was actually pretty solid for a seventh-round pick. He did some work for us. So first of all, we'll look at rivals.com. They've got a B and a B plus on Rashawn Gary, which arguably is a fair take, I suppose. I think they were a little under. But Darnell Savage got an A and a B minus. Farrell says, I love Savage as a first-round pick for the Packers because he can do so much. I had him slipping into the second round, but man, this kid is a first-round grade to me. Again, I'm not trying to pick on these people. I'm just saying right now we're consuming so much. We're consuming so many takes that are irrelevant. Some people like it. So like even this, it was an A and then a B minus. The other guy says, I understand the Savage stock has risen quickly in the last few weeks, but I still think if you're going to take a safety, there were better ones out there, namely Nasir Adderley and Jonathan Abrams. Now, interestingly enough, both of those guys are bad. I think Abram, a little bit too violent, suffered some injuries, et cetera, et cetera. I really like Nasir Adderley. I was hoping the Packers would draft him. I have not heard his name since the draft. I think he went to the Chargers. I don't know what his fate has been, but I know he has not been dominating the NFL. Bad takes. Here we go. Pete Prisco. Oh, boy. I like Pete Prisco. I really do. He's another guy that whenever he says stuff, he seems like he's a reasonable guy. Like a lot of these people, you listen to him and you're like, you're not trying to be serious. You're trying to have takes. You know what I mean? And sometimes I agree with your takes. Sometimes I hate your takes. But you're just kind of a take machine. I feel like with Prisco and a few other, the other guy that he's with on CBS a lot, I forget. The CBS crew, I think, is a more serious group. They have people that actually know stuff, that are giving serious, honest evaluation. And I appreciate that. But this is awful. Green Bay Packers grade was a B, right? And I think that could be fair if you look at it. We got Rashawn Gary and Elton Jenkins. You wish you could have got a little bit more out of that, but it's okay. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8 picks. You got 2 that I think are really good. The problem is there's nothing outside of that. You'd like to at least have one more starter out of that group. If you can have, in my opinion, 2 relatively high-end players, again, Elton's kind of iffy. Rashawn fell off at the end, so I'm scared, but I'm going to just close my eyes and pretend that everything's fine. But if you can get two really good guys and just like a starter, that's where I was hoping Savage could have like maybe figured it out, but whatever. I think B might be a little generous, maybe C minus, whatever. But get this, best pick. I don't think this could have been any more wrong. Best pick was third round tight end Jay Sternberger. Will add a nice dimension to the offense in the passing game. Aaron Rodgers will love his game. To be fair, huge Jay Sternberger fan when I watched him. That's how you knew he would suck. Ready for this? Worst pick, Rashawn Gary. I didn't love the pick of Rashawn Gary in the first round. He's an athletic kid, but where's the production last season? And then we got the skinny. The Gary pick at number 14 is a little rich, but I like the safety Darnell Savage, their other first-round pick. Second-round center Elton Jenkins was one of my favorite linemen in the draft. So at least he got Elton Jenkins kind of right. But it's like, best pick, Jay Sternberger. Worst, Rashawn. Didn't like Rashawn. I like the other first-round pick, Darnell Savage, though. I mean, come on. If that last sentence about Elton Jenkins wasn't in there, this would be the worst take I've ever read about the draft. It is 100% the opposite. Elton Jenkins was the best pick. Jay Sternberger was probably the worst. PFF in summary. I don't like doing summaries because I don't want you to think I'm misquoting them, but I don't want to just read everything everybody says. They said Gary should have been moved inside, and PFF, their office, in other words, the people that work there, they thought Rashawn Gary was the best. He was a favorite in the PFF office. So Rashawn Gary, not super good, should probably kick him inside, and maybe that's a good take. I don't know. We haven't really tried it. Maybe a little bit. Again, PFF doesn't, I know he's played inside a couple snaps. PFF doesn't divvy up their grade, so I can't look at it. But doesn't seem to be a great take, especially the Darnell Savage take didn't seem to work out super great. They thought Elton Jenkins was a first-round talent, which I think is a pretty solid take. A favorite of Steve Palazzolo's in the tight end class, Texas A&M, Jay Sternberger, and a career high, blah, 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 blah. They go through his stats. So Palazzolo loved Jay Sternberger. That was a bad take. They hated the Kadar Holman pick, which was fair, but they loved the Kingsley Keke pick, which, to be fair, seemed like it could have been a thing for a while there, but it didn't materialize. CBS gave the Rashawn Gary pick a C-. He said basically what everybody else said. Very athletic. He's a specimen, all that stuff, but it doesn't translate to the field. There's no production. Darnell Savage pick gets a B. So a C for Rashawn, a B for Savage. Pretty unanimous that Savage was a better pick than Rashawn. And NFL.com just loved everything. Day 1 grade, A. Day 2 grade, A. Day 3 grade, A. Overall grade, A. Let's just keep it simple, folks. Everything was great. They're all going to be great. The Packers got a steal in Kingsley Keke, who could become a starter. Holman was a former walk-on who starred for Toledo. Depth at running back was a big need for Green Bay, so Williams will get a shot to play early. How about a real fun one? 2020. Should we recap? In the first round, the Packers drafted Jordan Love at pick 26. Jordan Love. Then they got A.J. Dillon, second round, Josiah DeGuara in the third, Kamal Martin in the fifth, John Runyon, Jake Hansen, and Simon Stepniak in the sixth, all offensive linemen, Vernon Scott in the seventh, along with Jonathan Garvin in the seventh. NFL.com's article, NFC North draft grades. Packers did what? Vikings, Lions shine. So Packers, crazy town. Vikings and Lions apparently had great drafts. We could take a peek at that in a minute. Let's just read through this. It's kind of interesting. It says, yeah, his name was loosely connected to the Pack at time in an exhaustive pre-draft process. In other words, every scenario has been talked about at least at some point. But anyone who tells you they truly saw this coming via trade-up in round 1, no less, also claims to own original Apple stock. Aaron Rodgers is technically just becoming a 4-year extension. He originally signed back in the summer of 2018. Technically just beginning. At age 36, the quarterback has regressed some from apex Aaron Rodgers, but let's not kick dirt on his grave quite yet. Rodgers is fresh off his 8th Pro Bowl season, and then you go through the stats. Everyone expected the Packers to significantly upgrade Rodgers' weaponry this offseason. Instead, they signed Devin Funchess to a 1-year prove-it deal in free agency before adding a 247-pound running back and a power H-back in the draft. Oh, and a quarterback of the future. Yeah, let's talk about Love. As it's his name atop this blurb. What is Green Bay getting in the Utah State product? An extremely polarizing prospect. Some compare his natural arm talent to that of Patrick Mahomes. Our own Lance Zierlein compared him to Blake Bortles. Have fun with that quarterback room, Matt LaFleur. So, according to Lance Zierlein of CBS, we drafted Blake Bortles. So that sucks. SportingNews.com ranked every grade from first to last. The Dallas Cowboys had the best draft. The Green Bay Packers, dead last. They ranked 32nd, the only D grade in the entire draft. It says last and least, where to begin with this whiff of a class for Brian Gutekunst. After working so hard to build a 13-3 Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur's last year, Green Bay drafted too much for future years. Love, Dillon, DeGuara all won't help the team win more games in 2020. Martin and Garvin were the best picks in relation to what they needed. They should have considered offensive tackle earlier. It's interesting, though. They talk about the 3 first picks, and then they talk about the next 2 picks who were the best for need. But it wasn't the need picks that ended up being the good picks. It was the future picks that ended up being the good picks, right? I mean, you say what you want about Dillon. Dillon has helped us quite a bit over the last several years. And although last year was a bit of a whiff, I mean, the guy was consistently graded as one of the top running backs prior to last year by PFF, whether you want to agree with that or not. It hasn't all been a tragedy. Just throwing that out there. They should have considered offensive tackle earlier, and it was absolutely shocking to not add a wide receiver to support Rodgers. Heck, a defensive lineman for their 3-4 front even would have been nice. The Vikings, Cowboys, Buccaneers, 49ers, and Saints all did much better as NFC contenders in relation to. That was Vinny Iyer of Sporting News. I mean, look, at least put in the caveat that if Jordan Love goes on to be a great quarterback, this will all change. He didn't even want to throw that in there. He's just like every other short-sighted Packer fan who only cared about 2020. That's all that matters. Go win a Super Bowl in 2020, whatever the cost. Pass Jordan Love. Screw that guy. Screw the future. Who cares about 2023, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? Yes, 2020, 15. Just shut up. Leave me alone. Who cares? I don't care. NFL.com actually had an intriguing analysis. They didn't even talk about Jordan Love, which I don't know how you can grade the draft without talking about Jordan Love. But they gave day 1 an A-, which is Jordan Love. Then day 2 a D, which would be Dillon and DeGuara. And then a C in day 3. Now, I think if you switch day 2 and day 3, you're probably right. ACD probably works. But still, pretty impressive that he came out with a C+, and he's like, but the first round, that was actually pretty good. Kudos to, who wrote this at NFL.com? Chad Reuter. And to be clear, this isn't to say that everything you read is wrong. Some of this stuff's going to be right, but there's no correlation here. There's no way to kind of parse through this and go, this is when they're right, this is when they're wrong. It's just random. Everything is exactly perfectly random. SportingNews.com ranked the Packers draft 26th and gave them a D. Why? The entire reason they didn't capitalize on the window of drafting a tackle or a receiver and instead drafted for the future. Just the philosophy in and of itself was wrong. And again, you're right, only in that window in which Jordan Love isn't playing. Right? In that window, you were right. Jordan Love didn't help us at all in that window. But am I willing to trade last year and all future years with Jordan Love so that I can go back to 2020 with, let's see, who are the top tackles and wide receivers at that time? Not sure who was exactly drafted, but you got Josh Jones out of Houston, Austin Jackson out of USC, Ezra Cleveland out of Boise. Those 3 guys probably would have been in that range. Anybody want to trade Jordan Love for Josh Jones, Austin Jackson, or Ezra Cleveland? I don't know where Austin Jackson and Josh Jones even are. Ezra Cleveland, I think, is a decent guard right now for the Vikings, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's their left guard. Peter, let me know. I think he's doing okay. I know I trashed the pick, and I think he's actually doing better than I thought. But would I trade Love? Let me put it this way. Vikings right now would trade Ezra Cleveland for Jordan Love. I promise you that. Don't even lie to me, Vikings fans, about that one. Let's say we could redo this past draft where you don't take a quarterback. You tell me you wouldn't take Jordan Love? You freaking would. And then wide receivers, we've talked about this a million times. Everybody wants to pretend T. Higgins was the only option. And of course, the Packers would have absolutely drafted T. Higgins because that was the obvious choice that everybody knew about. And had we drafted T. Higgins, we would have obviously won the Super Bowl. Such complete nonsense. Everybody wanted Denzel Mims is what everybody wanted. And Denzel Mims hasn't done anything. Ayuk was gone. Justin Jefferson was gone. And Jalen Reagor was gone. So you've got what? Like Laviska Shenault, Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, and that's about it. Chase Claypool, I think, was even though on the consensus board he was way down there. I know I like KJ Hamler, which again, If I like them, they're going to suck. That's the rule. But, of the 4 people that wanted T. Higgins, that probably would have materialized into a better situation at wide receiver. It would not have materialized into a Super Bowl. The idea that we could have overcome all the massive catastrophes, the absolute brick wall that we ran into in the playoffs in which we were embarrassed. Like, it was a joke. We got stomped out by these teams. But yeah, having T. Higgins would have fixed it all. Come on, guys. And again, if we would have not taken a quarterback, and we're talking one player out of how many that would not have been good picks? Denzel Mims again, Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault, Josh Jones, Austin Jackson, Ezra Cleveland, Isaiah Wilson maybe out of Georgia, I don't know. Maybe Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan, interior offensive lineman. Anybody? Got to get some help for the QB, man. Maybe could have got Cole Kmet, the tight end. Could take a swing at the top tight end. You want Cole Kmet instead of Jordan Love? The bottom line is everybody that said that was a bad pick would not make the trade today. And that's the point. That's why, in my mind, it's short-sighted. If it's a good decision then, it should be a good decision today. It's not. It was just a short-sighted thing. I believe, because I choose to believe, because I'm mad that we just didn't do it. So I'm going to declare that we would have won the Super Bowl. Obviously, I can't know that, but I'm going to say that it's true. And that justifies everything. And I think that that's nonsense. And that was, again, the depth of this entire article. The Packers get a D. Why? Because they drafted a future quarterback instead of a tackle or a wide receiver. And again, only one wide receiver out of the entire group of available tackles and wide receivers, as far as I can tell, would have gone on to be a decent wide receiver. A number 2 wide receiver behind Devontae. And that, again, assumes that it would have worked in Green Bay, that he would have been very good as a rookie, that Aaron Rodgers would have even thrown to him, because we know he doesn't like to throw to rookies. I mean, he would have done it occasionally, but when the game's on the line, you're telling me he's not going to force a throw to Devontae in triple coverage instead of throwing it to Denzel Mims? I'm going to say that you're a liar, because I watched him do it. I watched him not see the wide open guy running down the field and instead forced a pass to Devontae Adams in triple coverage, which eliminated us from the playoffs. I watched that happen. But yeah, definitely no, for sure we would have won the Super Bowl. Come on. Anyways, I forgot to take a second break. Let's wrap this thing up. We'll skip a couple. I want to go through the draft grades for this year now, just so we can kind of see some similarities and we can kind of hear some things. And maybe as we hear people say stuff, we can hearken back to things that were said about previous drafts that were laughable. And by the way, most of them were wrong in the wrong direction. Again, this isn't me saying they're going to criticize the Packers and they're wrong because they're stupid. A lot of times they gave the Packers credit. Most of the time, more often than not, the Packers were praised for things that didn't work than in the other direction. More often than not, Equanimous is going to be great, or Kamal Martin was actually a really good pick in the 5th round. Like that kind of stuff that didn't pan out. Let's go through PFF here because they actually do a recap. Everything gets better every year. You go back in the past, you can hardly find anything, and it's barely a blurb. PFF this year gives their thoughts on, they gave the overall grade a B+. Here's what they had to say about every single one of our picks, which again means basically nothing. From the people that didn't care for Rashawn but thought Savage was the best safety and was going to be great, here's what they had to say about Morgan. Return from an ACL in 2023, excellent season for Arizona. There are questions about his play strength and arm length, so he may move inside. Green Bay now has several versatile players on its offensive line and is sure to shuffle them around. Again, what are we doing here? Now, I'm positive as a first-round pick he's going to play, but I don't like this idea of, okay, so now they have pieces. I don't know. Maybe Morgan sucks and we don't have anything. Cooper, they say, the first linebacker comes off the board. He has length and athleticism. Led all linebackers in PFF grade in 2023. Very few weaknesses. Only linebacker in college to earn an 85-plus grade in coverage, run defense, and pass rush. Needs to develop his coverage instincts, but he has good to be a starting caliber linebacker. Bullard. Desperately needed safety next to Xavier McKinney and Anthony Johnson heading into the draft. They found versatile Georgia Bulldog Jonathan Bullard, excellent coverage safety, extensive experience playing in the slot, one of just 4 Power 5 players who earned an 80-plus PFF grade in coverage and run defense from the slot over the past 2 years. His versatility makes the Packers secondary substantially better. Does it? Not trying to be a jerk about this. I'm just saying, stop saying stuff like that. So now they're set. Now they got a safety. So they got a linebacker who's going to be great. They got this slot guy who's going to be great. And then they got an offensive lineman that somewhere is going to be playing. He's going to be great. Lloyd offers an explosive skill set, which should fit nicely in Matt LaFleur's multiple run scheme. Lloyd tallied 47 missed tackles, 14 runs, 15 plus whatever. Some intriguing flashes as a receiver, but has major holes in his pass protection technique that will limit him to early down rotational role in year one. For Hopper, they said PFF's 191st ranked player and the 13th ranked linebacker, more athletic than his measurables suggest. His athleticism does provide upside for him to find the field early on special teams. He can contribute on defense if he develops. Excellent as a pass rusher, recorded 49 pressures in 2022. He showed some promise in coverage by allowing just one touchdown in his career. I'm surprised they won't go in negative. It's like they're trying to allude to it, but they won't do it. Williams, the safety, earned a 75-plus PFF grade in 3 straight seasons and offers some value as a blitzer. That is one interesting tidbit. It's kind of a sidebar from what I'm trying to accomplish here. Do you notice how everybody's really good at blitzing? I don't know if Gutekunst is trying to push in that direction or if that's something that the defensive coordinator kind of nudged him toward, guys that can get to the quarterback are kind of going to be an important thing because we're going to be sending guys from all different places. Because we got linebackers that can do, like you said, Hopper. He needs some work, but he can blitz. Bullard, really good blitzer from the slot. Cooper, dude can blitz. Williams, the safety. I mean, he's a good blitzer. Goes on to Monk, says he wasn't a top 300 player on PFF's big board and came in at 272. Wasn't among the top 300 players on PFF's big board and came in at 272nd overall in the consensus big board. I guess PFF and consensus are different. I'm pretty sure 272 is inside of 300. But the Packers tabbed him as their guy here in a trade-up, continuing to add depth to their interior. Monk showed some versatility over the past few years at Duke, playing over 200 snaps both center and right guard. So this can only be wrong in one direction because they're just saying only positive stuff. Packers add Oladapo, who's coming off his best college season. The past year, he earned an impressive 88.3 PFF grade and a 91.3 run defense grade, the latter ranked as the best mark among Power 5 safeties. It's another thing they're kind of leaning on. I mean, I know some guys don't have good grades, but it is surprising that it's like these guys have the top. For Glover, they said offers plenty of length on the inside at 6'6", nearly 35-inch arms. He played more than 4,000 snaps for Georgia State, but didn't record a 70-plus PFF grade until the final season. Pratt, the Packers got excellent value in Pratt, but who can compete immediately to be Jordan Love's backup. Pratt was at his best throwing downfield this past season, earning an 88.5 PFF grade on throws 20-plus yards downfield. And then King, it says, was once pegged as a potential first-round prospect in 2024 NFL draft. He struggled in 2023, earned a 60 PFF grade, and ranked 308th among FBS cornerbacks. However, he recorded an 89 PFF grade in 2022, good for 6th at his position. He's shown he's fully capable in pass coverage and is a solid value pick here for Green Bay. I was hoping for something a little bit more, well-rounded and skeptical, but it doesn't matter. The bottom line is some of that was valuable because it gives you actual data and stats, but it doesn't matter. This guy was a reach. This guy was great value. This is bull crap. We're not going to know. And I listen, I know that there's some data out there. There's data that suggests that if, according to the consensus board, it was a reach, generally it trends more toward being a bad pick. So maybe you can say something about that. Maybe. But it doesn't mean it has to be. Let's go just see what happens. Again, this is that whole thing about the Packers reached on Jordan Morgan. Reach in what way did they reach? Same thing. Listen, this is what everybody said about, or not everybody. This is what Bears fans say about Jordan Love. He was a second-round quarterback. He's a second-round pick. Did you watch what he did in 2023? You're going to tell me that that's worth a second round? The Packers didn't draft him in the first round because he was a second-round talent. They drafted him in the first round because they thought he could be what he was in 2023, and they think that he can continue that. And they saw that value, and they said, this is worth a first-round pick. The Packers did not draft Jordan Morgan because they thought he was a second-round pick and they were better offensive linemen. They drafted a guy in the first round that they felt was a good value for where he was and better than everybody else that was on the board. And I know that all the consensus boards you and I looked at say that that isn't the case, but that doesn't matter. We'll see what happens. I don't want to hear about reaches and steals. I don't want to hear it. There's no such thing as reaches and steals. There just isn't. Reaches and steals only point to where the NFL disagrees with what the NFL media has been saying. They're kind of interesting little tidbits. This guy went earlier than expected. I wonder why. Were we wrong? You know, and sometimes it doesn't. Like Oren Burks was thought of as a reach, but he's so athletic and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Very similar to Tyron Hopper. Also third-round linebacker. A bit of a reach on an athletic linebacker, and maybe it turns out to be Oren Burks all over again, and it ends up being a disaster all over again, or maybe it doesn't. Reaches and steals. And you know, again, you can call in, you can talk to me about whatever you want. I'll be polite to you. I'm just saying, I get all these calls all the time. It was like, I don't know, it felt like a reach. I know it felt like a reach. It felt like a reach because everybody said that Jordan Morgan wasn't going to be taken that early. They were wrong. They miscalculated his value, at least according to the Packers. And the only thing that really matters is, do you trust Brian Gutekunst? Not to be perfect, but do you trust that he and his staff did a really good job and that they had significantly more information than even really talented guys like, say, Daniel Jeremiah? Yes, they did. They have a massive team. They had scouts and coaches watching Jordan Morgan in person, shaking his hand, having conversations with him. They know this guy inside and out and determined it was a good value. So, although I understand it felt like a reach because the consensus board had him like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks later, whatever it was, I just don't care. For all I know, the Packers thought Jordan Morgan would have been a good pick at 15. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye-bye.